Hey guys, thanks for stopping by. Welcome to the tribe. Today is the inaugural maiden voyage of the Lion Tribe channel. Those of you zoologists out there who want to be scientists, I wasn't a scientist. I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express once, but everyone knows that lions don't run in tribes. They run in prides. A collective of lions is called a pride. However, scriptures talk about Jesus being the lion of the tribe of Judah, Judah being one of the 12 tribes, original founding tribes in the nation of Israel after God delivered them from Egyptian bondage. And so that, obviously the channel is going to be more worship focused under the umbrella of Lion Tribe Productions, where I'm going to be doing some more non-ministry focused stuff. This is going to be the ministry arm of the Lion Tribe production label. And so what we're going to be covering on this channel is obviously worship, mostly from a warfare perspective, derivative of 2 Chronicles 20, and how a real life example of worship translating into literal warfare, but we see that as a metaphor in the spiritual realm of spiritual warfare. And so God in his goodness has just been opening doors like crazy. So through the channel, we're going to be covering worship, obviously, mostly from a warfare perspective. Going to be doing some Bible studies, maybe some deep dives into some prophetic stuff. Going to be probably doing some live worship. We're going to be doing interviews with some awesome men and women of God. Got some amazing things coming down the pike. And we may also do some cooking. Who knows? May shoot some guns. May even have some dancing orangutans or some rapping eggs, or even a breakdancing horsefly. Kidding. Maybe, who knows? But, however, I'm going to try to sprinkle in some fun with this channel. Why not have some fun? Jesus says, I've come to give you life more abundantly, and I believe part of that abundant life is supposed to be fun. Christianity is not supposed to be all adversity and gloom, right? We're created in the image of God, and if we have all these physical, emotional manifestations of joy and laughter and humor, then surely if we're the carbon copy of our creator God, then he has to have some of those same emotional manifestations within his personality also, right? So let's have some fun, guys. Now, I wasn't the class cut up, but I could hold my own a little bit coming up. So just let's have some fun doing this. This song, I can't even finish it without 5 or 6 other songs stirring in my heart. And so this is quickly turning into an album. So be sure to like, comment, share this video, and subscribe. For the love of all things holy, like this video and subscribe. Follow me. Come with me on this journey of writing this album, guys. God's going to do huge, amazing things. And so, yeah, pause the video right now, like and subscribe, and share it while you're at it. Seriously, I'll wait. Go ahead.
A few moments later.
If you haven't subscribed yet, click the subscribe button.
More moments later.
I got all day. So you're back? Did you subscribe finally? Click the notification bell too. Go ahead. All right. Awesome stuff, guys. Awesome sauce. Again, we're trying to have a little fun around here. God is a good God. He promised we would see his goodness in the land of the living. I believe that goodness is supposed to be a lot of fun. So let's experience fun. I want to get into the testimony of how this song came about. I don't want to get a really huge deep dive, but maybe for a later video. I just want to highlight some of my journey getting to this point. Started playing drums when I was 10 years old. 3 years later, my mom would get us plugged in the church. I'd give my heart to Jesus in the spring of 1990 when I was 13. That summer, I go to church camp. God, I love you, church camps. Gotta love youth camps, right? The synergy, the sheer synergy of 200, 300, 500 other teenagers there with you. All there, hopefully, for the same reason of just experiencing God and experiencing fellowship. It creates such a crazy synergistic atmosphere. I was filled with the Holy Spirit at youth camp, felt the call of the ministry. I came back from church camp, started playing drums in church. A year or two later, started singing. By the time I graduated high school, I thought I was still playing drums a lot, but singing mostly. I sang in an all-state youth choir. Thought that my life was going to be similar to that of like a Mark Price. I had pro basketball aspirations. I'd already had a few college scholarship offers. Thought I was going to be, I knew I was supposed to be in some form of music ministry. Thought I was going to be like a Mark Price type, in that he was a Christian contemporary artist in the 90s. Would host concerts sometimes during the season, but did a lot of concerts in the off season. Thought that's what my life was going to be. God used a basketball scholarship when I was 18 years old, moved me to Tuscaloosa. Thought I was coming just for basketball and to learn and acquire. I knew I wanted to be in Tuscaloosa. I turned down some bigger scholarship offers. I didn't know why I wanted to be in Tuscaloosa, but I knew I wanted to be. Turns out God wanted me in Tuscaloosa because he wanted to get me ready for my calling. 18 years old. I hadn't even started the basketball season yet. It's the summer of my freshman year in college, and I just sort of kind of fall into leading worship by accident. What I perceived as accident, it turns out it was God the entire time. Started playing keyboards right after that. 21 years old, started playing guitars. Fast forward to 21 years old. Mika, what's wrong? Sorry, my pit bull's being a little whiny and clingy. 21 years old, I'm on staff at a church, part-time. We're hosting a women's conference. Lady Deb Schatzline, God rest her soul. She's already laid aside this earthen vessel way too soon, and she's gone home to dance with Jesus. But while she was still with us, and this was 23 years ago. I was 21 years old. Jeez, 23 years. It's crazy. Almost a quarter of a century. Almost. You ever make bad decisions and realize right in the middle of the decision, you think it might be a great decision at the time until you're in the thick of it, and then all of a sudden you realize, I shouldn't have done this. Like this guy.
It was at this very moment he knew he messed up.
Yeah. That's me, my life in perpetuity for the last 22 years since I experienced what I'm about to describe to you. So Lady Deb Schatzline is speaking at a women's conference. My pastor and my pastor's wife, we were hosting the women's conference. Small town Alabama, not a lot of female worship leaders in our immediate area. And so they asked me to lead worship, and I'm there that night. She's opening up her message. She said, ladies, I know we're here for a women's conference, but I feel the Lord telling me to pray over a man of the house. And she turned around and looked at me, and I knew what was about to happen, because when Lady Deb hears from the Lord, you know it. The lady was a gift. She was a treasure. And she turns around to me, stops what she's doing. She starts speaking into my life. And I'm an emotional wreck because God is just speaking through her. She's laying hands on me, imparting gifts into me. And by this time, it's practically like an out of body experience almost. My spirit is just soaking in what God is saying, and then in the distance I can hear my natural ears or hear her praying, and then I hear her say, "You will write the Psalms that David never wrote." No, and those of you out there that know Lady Deb, when she says something, it's usually from the Lord. She usually doesn't miss it, hardly ever. What noise are you making over there, Mika? Sorry, Pitbull. For parents, so things are great, man. God is revealing himself. I ended up moving into full-time ministry. I started making my decision making started waning a little bit in some areas in my personal life. Then, like that guy doing the parkour. Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have the luxury of realizing right in the middle of the moment that this is a bad decision. Sometimes we don't realize the severity of the decision until years later. But God is still good in his mercy. Despite me being boneheaded and not listening to God, doors of opportunity were opening. God was moving through the worship ministry. Ended up moving into full-time ministry in Missouri when I was 22, 23 years old. Was gone for about 3.5 years. Father my first daughter, Reese. I love that baby. She's a senior in high school this year. It's amazing. She sings like an angel, plays ukulele, and has a heart as big as the ocean. And to see God developing her in music, and very similar to how he did with me growing up, it's humbling to see that. And her sister Anna, 12, she just started playing drums and flute this year. Fell in love with drums because of Jen Ledger and Skillet. Anna and I are fanboy and fangirl of Skillet. We're actually trying to go to a concert across the state this week. And Skillet's starting an open air concert tour in drive-in theaters and amphitheaters this week, and so we're trying to go to that show in Alabama tomorrow. Both of my babies, just to see God starting to develop them in music it's humbling to know that, to see that as a father. She was 5 months old. Aunt Reese was 5 months old when we moved back from Missouri to Alabama. Saw some things while I was in Missouri, while working in full-time ministry, behind the curtain, as it were, kind of like the Wizard of Oz, but saw some things that I didn't really care to see, experience. I was starting to become a little jaded by it, at least cautiously apprehensive. Plugged back into my home church at Daystar. Started helping with worship there. Started playing keys, helping with the band, helping with worship on a lot of Wednesday nights. And some of the stuff that I'd experienced in ministry and full-time ministry wasn't all that it was cracked up to be. And then now back at Daystar, waiting on God to launch me somewhere else. I ended up encountering some personal circumstances in my family that started weighing on me to the point to where that, plus my apprehension about what I'd experienced in full-time ministry, it eventually snowballed into me deciding to step away from ministry. Now, the problem is that in this effort, I didn't just step away from ministry. I actually ran directly from my calling altogether. I didn't stay around music. I didn't play music for years. Actually, a lot like Jonah, ran in the opposite direction of Nineveh on the way to Tarshish, metaphorically. there was a couple of years after that where I plugged back in the church and I started helping out with worship at another church a little bit here or there. Started playing a Christian band though, with an old friend of mine that I was in a band with years before. God was blessing me when we were writing our own material. We were recording demos. Had an EP we were working on. Kids were being saved at our concerts, and so that was the good work of the Lord, right? I mean, I was working for God, but I wasn't writing those songs that He said I would write. Why was I not? I don't know. I questioned that myself. I thought it was God. God said, "Well, God, you said this was going to happen. Why has it not happened?" Well, it turns out that maybe it had a lot to do with me, and maybe there was a lot intended to keep me from that end of fulfilling my destiny. Not long after that, I would start running again, working. Had my second child by this point, and more personal storms. Crazy personal storms. And in the last 5 or 6 years, some positive changes in my life. God started drawing me back into the ministry again. I knew it, I felt it, but I kept making excuses for my wife and I why we couldn't step back into ministry. And tried starting a couple of businesses. Those never got off the ground, not because they weren't great ideas, but they were just motivated from probably the wrong place. Tried playing in a couple of 3 cover bands. Great bands, great musicians. We were working out great set lists, but they never materialized. In 2018, August 2018, God had been drawing us back into what He wanted us to do. I was in a severe car wreck, and I'm going to share pictures of that right now as I'm talking. I'll post edit with those pictures. If you'll see the car here, there's another picture that I'll share. You see the bowl-shaped dome in the top of the windshield, and I'm 6'8" in this small little car. Should have died in this wreck. God in His mercy spared me while I'm running from Him. Sadly, this was not a wake-up call. It should have been. God was drawing me. He had been drawing me, gently pulling me back into the ministry, and now here comes the godly sorrow. I was that close to death, but God spared me in His mercy while I wasn't living for Him and doing what I was supposed to do. I was still on my way to Tarshish in direct opposite direction of my Nineveh. Sadly, I didn't wake up. I was still in a bad dream state. 6 weeks later in October, an old spirit-filled state trooper friend of mine who coincidentally before he had worked in as a state trooper, we both worked together in construction while we were young in the ministry together. So we were old friends from back then. We sort of reconnected over the last few years. Hadn't talked to him in a few months at this point in October of 2018 until he called me up randomly, freaking out. I'm like, what's going on? He said, I've got your Bible. I'm like, what Bible? He describes how he found this Bible. I knew it was one of 2 Bibles, but I wasn't sure which one. But I knew in either case, it was Bibles that I'd lost 20 years ago. 20 years prior to this. He says that they're in a thrift store, he and his kids. The book aisle is next to the toy aisle. Kids aren't finding anything. He's digging through book bins. He's not finding anything of interest, so they leave. He's backing out of the parking spot, and his kid starts freaking out about her toy. He's like, what toy? She says, my dinosaur. So he goes back inside looking for the dinosaur toy, and it's laying on the edge of a book bin that he had already dug through, by the way. But it was right next to a Bible with my name inscribed on the outer cover. Goosebumps, especially knowing how old this Bible was. And as he described it, it was still in nearly mint condition. You know how, a well-worn Bible, some of those really thin pages will start to pull away from the binding. You got to be real careful. the more worn and used the Bible, those designer Bibles are, the easier it is for them to start falling apart, and you have to send it off to a bindery to have it rebound and such. But this Bible, despite it making its way from my house, young college bachelor, moving around every 6 months at that point, misplaced it. And there's no telling how many houses it stopped in until it ended up at the thrift store 20 plus years later, right where my friend was going to be, right when I was running from God, right when God was trying to draw me in as one big final hello, slap you in the face, wake up, stupid. God wasn't calling me stupid, but that's how I feel like I speaking, how I view myself sometimes. Still working on getting over the old self-guilt thing. But was that a wake-up call? Sadly, no. I never reconnected with my friend, never got the Bible until last year. Kept going on, tried to start a couple of businesses. Those never got off the ground. And then a year later, actually, no, 4 months after the Bible showing up, 5-6 months, a massive storm hit my life like I'd never seen or experienced before. And I'd been through some doozies in life, but this was different. My ship was being busted apart. I found myself drowning, much like Jonah. The world came crashing down. Everything I loved, everyone I loved, everything was crumbling underneath me. And it took me about 7 or 8 months after this to really wake up and realize and look at the wreckage of my life and realize that no, God's not punishing me for this, because like Jonah, I was running from the will of God for my life. But unlike Jonah, I don't think God explicitly sent a series of devastating life circumstances to wake me up. I think I opened myself up by taking myself out from under the extended grace of God. There's only so far His grace will extend. His mercies are new every morning, but His grace, His unmerited favor, I had out extended that and opened myself up for attack. And it took a while, but the last year, I finally started seeking the Lord in earnest. Finally reconnected with my friend and found this Bible. Finally reconnected with him and got this Bible. Now it's nothing special, but it is in a way. It's just that's actually a paper-bound Bible, but still in nearly mint condition. And you see my name inscribed on the outer cover there. I don't know if you'll be able to read it. I'll try to. But what this Bible, and it's just goosebumps, man, just goosebumps. What this Bible signifies, if you'll look there, it was a graduation gift on May 25th, 1995. Now, that day is significant, and that's the day I graduated high school. But the spiritual significance of that and why God would allow this Bible to travel all this distance and time and even space and to come out almost completely unscathed. And why that date? Why was that date so significant? Was because the very next day, May the 26th of 1995, I was packing my bags to move to Tuscaloosa in what I thought was just for the basketball scholarship. But as it turned out, God wanted me in Tuscaloosa to groom me for worship ministry. And so hopefully, Miss Deb, finally starting to see some of those Psalms come forth. God is just good. I'm still experiencing some storms, some of the lingering after storms, as you see a hurricane that comes through, and then you have residual storms outside of the eye of the hurricane, in the general path of the storm in the wake of the hurricane. thunderstorms in mass, some tornadoes. Most recently, in January, another pretty big storm. And it's been 2 years of an onslaught of storms. But the difference is the last year, since I've given my heart back to the Lord, and He didn't judge me, and He didn't say, "I told you so." He didn't send all this stuff to me to punish me. I brought this on myself. I opened myself up for all this. But Jesus, He didn't wag His finger at me, shake His head. Quite the opposite. He saw me coming in the distance the moment I turned my heart back to Him, and He ran to meet me before I could even make it to the top of the end of the road. He was already there, rushing to meet me, and He wrapped His arms around me, and I just buried my dirty face in His chest, and immediately reclothed me, covering the guilt and shame that were my tattered, broken, ripped, and dirty clothes. Put a new ring on my finger. And He started revealing love of a father that I never really knew and experienced. I knew He was my father. I knew I was a son of God, but I didn't really fully realize the love of the Father until the last year. Through my own goofy mistakes. Sometimes it takes that to realize how frail we really are as humans. And see, the thing is that something that I grew up in church and in ministry and studying the Bible and reading things is I knew the story where Jesus was giving a metaphor to His disciples about Him being the vine and us being the branches. And He goes on to say that apart from Him, we can do nothing. The beautifully poetic thing about the grapevine metaphor is that, as the King James says, "I'm the vine," He's literally meaning the trunk. The trunk is what is tapped into the water table with the root bed underneath the soil, the surface of what we can see. And if we're the branches connected to the trunk, we're what supplies, we're what makes the fruit, we're what the world consumes. But we can't produce fruit if we're not connected. And Jesus even said, if you're not producing fruit and you dry up, it's better to be just cast off if you ever become disconnected and thrown into the fire. And Jesus says, remain in me and I in you, because apart from me you can do nothing. See, the thing is that I'd forgotten this. I tried to raise my kids with a semblance of godly morals and values, but I couldn't really do that effectively. I couldn't be the most romantic, loving, chivalrous husband, just the sacrificial husband that I wanted to be. I couldn't be the provider that I wanted to be. I couldn't be the musician I wanted to be. I couldn't be the entrepreneur that I wanted to be, because I was trying to do all that apart from Him. And He said, we can do nothing. I thumbed my nose at God and said, I wasn't running from God Himself. I wasn't blaspheming God. I just said, I will never set foot on a platform again at church after what I'd experienced. I'm never going to serve at another church ever again. And so this last of what up to that point was the greatest storm in my life in January, God gave me this song. I had the thing written in an hour. Literally, lyrics, had the basic melody line in my head. I banged it out on the guitar and had the whole basic structure of the song complete in an hour, as God just gave it to me. And again, the production process has been an educational one at that, learning the mixing the post production, things like that. But he's been teaching me so much, man. And there's other things that are coming down the pike that God has been revealing himself. And so without further ado, this is, again, the song is almost 100% done. I'm hoping to try to release it later this evening, if not tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Definitely tomorrow.
Tomorrow for sure.
Tomorrow. But here is a snippet of Almighty.
Bring the dead things to life. You cause the dry bones to rise. You bring the mountains low. You bring the valleys high. You bind the broken hearts. You set the captives free. Sovereign God, Yahweh Almighty. I lay down my sword and I lift my hands to you. Oh, send confusion to all my enemies. No weapon formed against me will prosper in your name. Walls of strongholds crumble when I shout your praise. Your kindness and your mercies, they endure for all time. Ambushes slay my foes, they won't escape your might. No weapon formed against me will prosper in your name. Walls of strongholds crumble when I shout your praise. Your kindness and your mercies, they endure for all time. Ambushes slay my foes, they won't escape your might. No weapon formed against me will prosper in your name. Walls of strongholds crumble when I shout your praise. Your kindness and your mercies, they endure for all time. Ambushes slay my foes, they won't escape your might. Oh, they won't escape your might. Oh, they won't escape you. They won't escape you. Lord, who fights my battles, yeah. Oh, lift up a standard.
God is good, guys. Thank you so much for staying with me with this video. If you were blessed by this testimony and by what you've heard of the song already, comment below, please. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear how God spoke to you. By all means, share this video. hopefully more people will hear the message, and because I am the one that realizes and knows I was dead. I was Lazarus. Decomposition had already started, and I was beginning to stink. I was so dead. But God resurrected me. I had taken what I thought was the calling He wanted for me, and I wrapped it up and put it on a shelf, never to be seen again, out of sight. And Jesus pulled that down off the shelf and blew the dust off of it and just totally rebirthed something new and different in me. And I'm living proof that He brings dead things back to life. And as I've grown in Him and He's grown in me, and starting to realize that, man, these storms, and they haven't gotten much better, but my peace of knowing who controls the storms is because of Jesus, because He never promises that we wouldn't experience mountains or valleys. But He brings those mountains low and those valleys high in an effort to make them easier to navigate. He binds the broken hearts, He heals them, and He sets captives free. He's sovereign, and He will do what He said He was going to do. It doesn't matter how much adversity you have fought. And I want to tell you guys, I don't feel at liberty to share, but I'm also living proof that God not only brings dead things back to life, but right now, in this very season, I am seeing God reveal Himself in a supernatural manner. And some of you wouldn't believe it if I told you, so I'm just not going to bother. But two of my closest friends, now three, know about just how supernatural God is and how He's proving Himself in my life. And so He's just good. He's just good. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. So subscribe, ring the notification bell. I'm going to be bringing, hopefully, semi-weekly Bible studies, maybe a prophetic word. We're going to be doing some live worship, and again, some interviews of some great men and women of God. And we'll just see what happens. We'll have some fun doing it. Just come along, like, subscribe, share. God is good. Now, the focus of this channel is, as I was trying to allude to in the beginning, was that hopefully, and it is as great of an effort as I can make while still failing, that my life would be a mirror that reflects Jesus when people look at it. Not always going to get that right. Probably get it wrong more than I will right, but hopefully this channel, because, you know, I can edit and re-record. But hopefully this channel is a reflection of Jesus. And to be quite honest, from all practical standpoints, the beauty of this thing is that, I mean, I'm here in my house, right? And most of my recording I'm going to do when I'm by myself, just me and Mika. Mika doesn't care if I have pants on or not. You guys are never going to see me but from the chest up, so I literally don't even have to wear pants to do this. I can just do this in my boxers. Kidding. But nor do I have to even brush my teeth, because I'm not going to be in somebody's face. You just wake up throwing a ball cap, and if God gives me a word, I'm sharing it, and you guys are, so there are some advantages to this thing. But if I were to have a sign off for the channel, it's this, is to just be that mirror that reflects Jesus. So, love you guys. Thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video. And we'll see you next time. And remember to always be that mirror. Love you guys. guys, quick disclaimer. I don't know if you noticed. I sure did. Then again, I believe that if we're doing anything we do as we're doing it unto the Lord, as that is our greatest form of worship, to do it with as much skill and with as much excellence as possible. That being said, I tend to go a little bit overboard, borderline OCD with certain things. Not as a personality trait, however. If you guys did notice, hoping you didn't, but if you did, there was a slight glowing, almost strobing effect, very intermittent throughout the whole video, very faint. I noticed it. I don't know if you did. But as much as I would love the idea that that might have been the visible, manifest glory of God present while I was filming that testimony, unfortunately it was not. It was just some camera glitch going on with the autofocus, somehow doubling up with the auto exposure, and I was letting light in an almost staccato rhythm, extra light, and so couldn't figure out how to fix it, and I just didn't feel like re-recording a 30-minute testimony video. So that was a disclaimer. Love you guys. Always remember to stay focused, stay humble, and be a mirror. Love you.